Hello and welcome to the Claret podcast. This is our Inside Bodymoor show, though, John, you've not been to Bodymoor Heath today because there hasn't been a press conference before the West Ham game. Obviously, Villa played against Ajax on Thursday night, and there was a little bit of chat in that press conference about West Ham, rather than a dedicated West Ham presser. So we're going to touch on that around the edges and just give our thoughts on the game generally. Also, the Europa Conference League draw was today as well, and that is where we're going to start. It's Aston Villa at home first against LOSC Lille. LOSC Lille, they were saying, weren't they, on the feed, which I thought you just ignored the letters, to be honest. Lille in France. We know how our route to the final has to go to get there, and it's a bloody difficult route compared to West Ham's of last year, who feels like they didn't really play anybody. Before we get into the draw, what did you make of last night, first of all, the Ajax game?
I wasn't particularly nervous. I didn't have too much trepidation about the match. I just thought Villa were going to beat Ajax at home. So that's why coming out of the the away leg, Ajax's home leg last week, I was pretty content with a 0-0. It was all about just nullifying Ajax. And this is, kind of going to get on to my point in a minute of, I do think it's a real shame that Villa have to play their home leg first in both quarterfinal and semi-final. And I know you've got your own kind of take on it, Dan, but I just think it plays into the other team's hands, obviously. But, for Villa, we know that we're going to be playing at Villa Park in the first leg against a team who will put 11 men behind the ball, which we know we've struggled to play against this season. So that will be a challenge. And then we're obviously going to have to go to Lille, Fenerbahce or Olympiacos as well, either having a slender lead. I don't think that we're going to blow either of them away at home, if I'm being totally honest. Yeah, I just think it's a really difficult draw, to be honest, because of the teams who we're playing, but also because we're playing at home first. I do think it is a massive advantage to be playing away second, if I'm honest, especially for Villa, because as I say, if we haven't scored in the first 60 minutes of the home leg, Villa Park can be quite anxious, and it will get quite tense if we haven't scored at least one or two goals at that point. And then you're thinking, well, we're going to have to do something in the away leg in front of 50,000 at Lille. And then Fenerbahce, goodness me, I think I was saying before, that's the one team that I really didn't want to play. It might not be them, but if Olympiacos beat them, then that says a lot about them. But either way, that, I'm looking ahead now, 4 games down the line. But, Villa are going to Olympiacos or Fenerbahce knowing they have to do something, or if they have to hold on to a 1-goal lead or whatever it may be. We are going to have to fight to get into the final, which I know sounds like we are, obviously. But as you said, Dan, West Ham hardly had to, do much to get into their final. And then they have Fiorentina in the final, and Villa could have Fiorentina in the final if they go all the way. Which, again, if you look at it, I think that's probably the one team who I didn't want to be playing in a one-off game. An Italian team who are capable of kind of stifling their opponent. They did it to West Ham. I know West Ham won 3-1 in the end, I think. But it was a really difficult match for West Ham. So, really difficult draw, in my opinion. Certainly still think Villa are favourites to win the competition, but it could have been easier. I think there's a lot of minefields coming up, I think, with those teams. If
you look at the teams that Villa will have to have faced to get to the final, if they do get there, you're looking at Europa League level teams, really, and past Champions League teams, possibly Fiorentina in the final, Ajax, Lille. It's there's good teams that Villa will have to have faced to go and lift this trophy, which that's what we all want, isn't it, to be playing amongst the best. And would you want an easy route to the final? Yes, yes, you would. Of course, you would. West Ham aren't going to devalue their trophy because they didn't play anyone difficult, and Villa won't make a meal out of it if we play more difficult teams. I had a theory on the post-match show after Ajax with Mat Kendrick. I don't know whether you've listened to it or not, but my thinking was, and this was maybe just to play devil's advocate, are we better to have had a more difficult time now and knock out one of the bigger teams or the better teams in the competition before we get to a final? Just because a final is obviously a one-leg shootout. It's there. It's 90 minutes plus on the day. Extra time as well, obviously. And you could come unstuck in that scenario against one of the better teams like a Lille or a Fiorentina, which obviously could still be them. But do you feel like you back... Well, my theory is I feel like I back any Villa to beat anybody over 2 legs. I do just wish that the Villa Park game was second. I think that is quite a big factor because you can do what we did against Ajax, basically.
This competition is quite balanced between most of the teams. Like we've seen like PAOK put up a big comeback. Olympiacos won 6-1 against, I think it was Tel Aviv, maybe Haifa, I'm not too sure. That kind of shows you that anyone can kind of beat anyone. But I think with Villa, they all know that we are the scalp, and that going to Villa Park, is the kind of the ultimate test for all of them. So if they can play at Villa Park first and just come away with a 1-goal deficit, or maybe even 2, that they're still in the tie. So this is why I think it's very difficult, and why I don't think Villa can do what you just said there, Dan, of blowing someone away first. Because even if we score once against Lille in the first 20 minutes, Lille don't have to come out at us then and then kind of break their shape and push for an equaliser, because they've got another 90 minutes to come after this game. Yeah. So I think it's very difficult. I mean, in some ways, Villa should be playing in that home game with a lot of control. They should have chances, because I say those teams won't be coming on to us as much as what Ajax had to when they fell 1 goal behind, and then we kind of took it from there, win the game 4-0. So yeah, it is very much on those home games for me. If we can get 2 goals ahead, then fantastic. We can go to those places and play on the counter attack ourselves, and we will cause problems. But yeah, it's that mentality for me that we're going into those home games with a lot more pressure, I think, than what we would have had if we'd already played the away game. And I don't think we've played very well in Europe in any game. Maybe the difference would be AZ Alkmaar. That might sound harsh because we beat Ajax 4-0, but I really don't think we were that good up until Bailey got his second goal, and then they had a man sent off. I think Ajax, if anything, were the team that were more likely to get that second goal. I know we got it. Obviously, Robbie had one off the line when Cash cleared it. So before half-time, and either side of half-time, shall I say, Ajax were in the ascendancy for me, and I think they were controlling it pretty well. Their shape caused Villa problems, and again, I know Villa have won the game 4-0, which it's probably a positive that Villa have managed to thrash AZ and Ajax. They obviously had the bump on the nose against Legia, but they haven't kind of hit their stride in Europe yet, which, you'd see as like a positive, because they're kind of getting into it. It's kind of like, it's not tournament football necessarily like a Euros or a World Cup, but it's that kind of, I'm trying to explain it like that.
Early. Yeah, there's no point in being amazing in the group stages and then going out in the first knockout game. You kind of build yourself in easily and just kind of scrape through, and then you get to a point where it's like, okay, we have to switch it on now, because, and again, maybe that plays into our hands a little bit, being at home at Villa Park first. You can't be complacent with it. We as fans can't be complacent with it, thinking, we've still got the second leg. When it's the reverse way around and you go, right, we can go there, we can make a difference. It's now or never. It's all Villa Park. We did well away last week. Now it's all on tonight. You can kind of all be in it together. I fear about like a level of complacency, thinking, it's only the first leg. But, if we don't do it tonight, we can do it next week. The away legs are going to be very difficult throughout the rest of this tournament. There's only 2 more. If Villa get all the way to the final, the finals on neutral ground anyway. But those home legs being first is I don't want to say disappointment, because we're in a European Cup, not quite, a European competition quarter-final and potentially semi-final. Of course, that's not disappointing. But in any kind of marginal gain you can get, being at home second leg is definitely what you would pick if you could pick.
As you say, Dan, we're going to difficult places here. Like Lille are a very good team. I think they've lost
4th in Ligue 1.
Yeah, they've lost once or something at home all season, I think. I did look at the stats before, which would obviously tell you that away from home, they're not very good. So, but then as I say, it kind of levels itself out, knowing that they don't have to come to Villa Park and win. They can, grind out a draw or maybe just lose by 1 goal, because then, at any point in that game, in their home leg, they can get a goal, and all of a sudden they're the ones who are going to, kick on, and they'll have the crowd with them, etc. in that second leg. So, yeah, it will be difficult for Villa, more difficult than what I anticipated it being, if I'm being totally honest, because I didn't think we'd get this sort of draw. I thought we might have, had a home leg in there second, against Brugge or something. I don't know. When Club Brugge come out straight away, I thought, yep, perfect. I'll have that, away first against a team that Villa should be beating. All of a sudden you're in a semi-final and it's, happy days. But we are going to have to do it the hard way. But ultimately, as we said before, Villa are the favourites for this competition for a reason. We are a lot better than these teams. We just have to show it. But of course, that is the difficult bit, especially when you are the favourites, because it is difficult to manage, say Villa are the scalp now, and not having that home leg second, it's a big leg up for a team like Fenerbahce or Olympiacos, obviously Lille as well. So yeah, I am excited by it. I'm just, a bit of trepidation. But as you said, Dan, maybe that could work in Villa's favour. There's going to be less complacency, hopefully, now that we know that we need to do a job at home and do it right. Then we go away from home knowing what we have to do. We'll have a game plan. If, for example, we win 2-1 or 2-0 against Lille, we'll know exactly what we need to do and how to do it from what Emery's told them to do. He's the master of European competition, so this is nothing new. But yeah, I think just for us fans, knowing that we might have to get something out of Fenerbahce away or something, late in April, I think it's going to be a test, but hopefully we'll be okay.
I'll just have a quick look at the league and table and around the fixture when we play. They do call them LOSC, and even on Google, it's LOSC as well. So
semi-finals in May. Sorry, I think I mentioned April. Then it's going to be in late early May.
So LOSC play Marseille, and then in the midweek they play Villa, and then at the weekend they play Monaco away. And Monaco are third. The top three get Champions League, and I think fourth place is a Champions League qualifier. So they're close in the table to Monaco above them. So only 3 points difference. So they might have one eye on thinking, well, if we get battered at Villa Park, we can fight for the Champions League at the weekend. Throw the second leg.
Where are Marseille? Because they're in the Europa League, aren't they, as well? So
Marseille are 7th at the moment, 3 points behind LOSC. So it's tight. It's tight at the top of Ligue 1. Yeah, interesting. There's our thoughts anyway on the Europa Conference League. We will talk more about LOSC Lille later in the month. Oh, no, not later in the month. It's April, isn't it? So next month.
When I was about 8 or 9 years old, I did have one of their old kits.
Did you? Have you still got it? Yeah. Like the shorts from that club. I've already forgotten what they were called.
Luzerne. Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, so I've got a LOSC shirt somewhere. I probably don't anymore. It would have been like a size like 12 or whatever.
Let's talk West Ham a little bit then. No proper press conference, as I said at the top of the show, but what was touched on after our act in terms of West Ham? Can you give us a little bit of insight there? Was it literally like one question? Was it 5 minutes?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, not a whole lot to take away from the little segment at the end. It's difficult because on these European games, Emery will come out like 11:15 or something. Obviously, people have places to be and beds to go to. So yeah, it's always a late one. So the press conferences are always quite rushed, and then especially if it's like an add-on of the Premier League game to come up. Usually they do have the presses at Bodymoor after the home games, but I think because the draw is tomorrow, which means that Villa need to be in, or some people need to be in Geneva for the draw, etc. It's all very difficult. But yeah, to answer your question, Dan, he said a little bit about like Jared Bowen, saying that Villa will have to keep a lid on him. West Ham, still having a good season, which I agree with. There's been a lot of negativity about them this season, probably more from their fans towards Moyes than anything else. I did have a stat here that I found out that was quite alarming for Villa anyway. West Ham have only lost one of their last 14 at home. Wow, okay. Which is, I was a bit shocked by that. I was thinking, maybe they've lost like 2 of the last 4 or 5 or something. It appears to be quite patchy, their form, but at home they've been very good. They've won 2 of the last 9 games in all competitions, so that's not particularly good, but then it's I think 2 of the last 3 that they've actually won. So they did have a bad run before last month, basically. I think we were all aware of that, but yeah, going into the game, they're not actually in particularly bad form. To be fair, they're in decent nick. So I think it'll be a very difficult game, especially obviously without John McGinn. And we'll touch on Ollie Watkins soon, I presume. But I think it's one of those fixtures where you look at it and think, well, Wolves at home is very hard. I think West Ham as well, very difficult. These games could easily define the season. I don't think.
Yeah, it's crunch time, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think Man City and Arsenal away are season defining, if that makes sense. I think they're almost free hits, if you will. But they're only like that if we can do something against West Ham and Wolves. So very difficult games. Yeah,
it feels like, again, without having looked at the head-to-head before we started, feels like our record against West Ham isn't very good. I'd have them down as a bit of a bogey team. Yeah, it's just something about them is not. I don't enjoy these games with them. I've got some crap memories of games against West Ham over the years, and just looking at the Premier League table rather than the league, only 4 points behind Man United. We're talking about Man United. Are they going to catch Villa and all this? I'll be thinking it's more likely West Ham are going to catch Man United. West Ham have got something to play for, which is obviously not good for Villa. You almost get into the stage of the season where teams aren't going to be having much to play for as we head into game week 32, 33, and you're playing kind of mid-table fodder who've got no threat of going down and they're not going to go for Europe. West Ham could very easily still finish in the Europa League place next season. Obviously, they're in the Europa League still at the moment. They battered Freiburg, didn't they, yesterday night, which is great for everyone looking out on the coefficient points. 7th West Ham, 43 points, Man United 47, and Brighton behind them 42, Wolves 41, Newcastle 40, even Chelsea 39. So the West Ham, if they're not going to capitalise and get into 6th place, they certainly need to hold on to 7th at least, you would think. So quite a big game for both sides. This was something to play for. Villa will feel like they need to win, I suppose, because every game feels that way, that we need to win. Wolves after an international break is not going to be easy. You never want to go into an international break on the back of a loss because you don't get it out of your system, do you, for 10 days, 2 weeks. It's crap. All we'll be talking about is what went wrong at West Ham. If we are to get something out of this game against West Ham, how do we do it? Is it a case of stopping Bowen, stopping Ward-Prowse, don't give Ward-Prowse free kicks on the edge of the area, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Ward-Prowse didn't play, or he didn't start, in midweek against Freiburg. I don't know if that's anything to look at for Sunday. Souček and Alvarez played with Paqueta, and I think Paqueta came off because he was injured, but I think it was like a precaution thing, and I don't think he wanted to come off anyway because he threw a bit of a strop when he came off. But yeah, I think it's a mix. Villa clearly have a lot of quality in their ranks, but then I do look at West Ham's forward line and I think, wow, Bowen, Kudus is a sensational player. Paqueta, as I've said, they have a lot of quality, West Ham, so we will have to keep a lid on them. And going the other way, we will make chances ourselves, so it is going to be, similar to Fulham, I suppose. I think they have similar records actually at home this season. West Ham, I know I've said that they've only lost once in like 14, but they've obviously got quite a few draws in that run as well. But Villa aren't really in the position at the moment to think about drawing matches and taking a point here and there. Kind of just got to win football matches now. We get into the point of the season where, for example, if Tottenham draw to Fulham, that'll feel like a win for Villa because it's 2 points, which could be the difference come the end of the season. Obviously, Villa would have to back it up with something themselves against West Ham. So, this is the point of the season now where Villa really do need to dig in. And as I say, we have some tough games to come this season. Before the season's out. And, West Ham isn't Man City or Arsenal away, but it will be difficult. Yeah. But it's also a game that we're probably going to have to go and, don't get me wrong, because your 4th place is another question if we draw the match, but these are just opportunities now because what we can't do is all of a sudden go 4 league games without a win, which, would happen if we don't beat one of Wolves and West Ham, because I don't think we'd get anything against City either. It is kind of the business end of the season is now. It's arrived. We've put ourselves in a really good position, but we're now going to have to go to a place like, I say, West Ham, who will be, they'll be up for it because they'll, have a point to prove themselves. Villa without McGinn, that's obviously a huge blow. Our captain, Claret, gives us so much, especially against the midfield who was so energetic and strong, physically capable of dominating. It's going to be difficult. I presume Tim comes into the 11. I don't think that Tielemans would drop back into midfield with Luiz. So it's it's going to be different for Villa and how we move the ball, how we keep it, and how we defend. But it's it's a difficult game whether McGinn played or not. So kind of proves out how tricky it will be.
Yeah, we've got ourselves into a good position, like you said, and we've just kind of like got to see it home now. We've got to just kind of do enough to get over the line. It looks like 5th place will be a Champions League spot. We will know, I think, for certain in the next European round of fixtures in another 3 or 4 weeks. The German side goes out and more English sides go through. It's almost nailed on that 5th place has got it, and we can kind of, I want to say relax, which is probably the wrong word, but we can relax a little bit knowing, okay, well, we don't have to finish 4th. I've seen a lot of questions, and you will know for definite. There's no differences there between finishing 5th and 4th. Like 5th isn't a playoff Champions League spot or anything. You go straight into next year's competition proper of the league table system. So finishing 5th is no worse than finishing 4th. You might be a lesser seeded club, possibly, in the standings for how the fixtures are drawn, but realistically, I don't think it'll make too much difference whether you finish 5th or 4th.
Yeah, you're in that big league table. I forget how many teams are in it now. Is it
36, I think.
6, yeah. Just on that as well, Dan, I know you speak about like the 5th and stuff. I'm still thinking Man United they're not million miles away. They're not.
Nah, forget Man United. Not what I'm thinking about. It's not because we, like I said, it's different to last year, because last year we were the ones who were kind of having to put a run together to get into the top 7, and we did it. And it did feel like we have to keep winning, and there is an element of that now, and internally there will still be, we have to keep winning, of course. But as a fan, I don't want to, how do I even say this without coming across wrong, but I'm not like, I'm not ultra like, we have to win, we have to beat West Ham, we have to beat Wolves. Like, yeah, it'd be amazing. We still need to get about 5 wins from 10 games left, 1 in 2. That's doable.
Yeah.
If we don't beat West Ham, it's 5 wins in 9. If we don't beat Wolves, it's 5 wins in 8. And it gets more difficult, obviously, as the season goes on, that you're running out of time. I get it. You want to get the wins now rather than thinking, we have to win the last 3 games of the season. I understand that, of course. But if we do get 5 wins, Man United have got to get 8 or 9. And that's
No, I'm absolutely like, we've done the maths. 5 wins, sound. But if we don't beat West Ham or Wolves, if not both, well, then United can cut the gap quite easily to about 6 points, because they'll have Sheffield United at home to come. Their fixtures are better than ours. We will be going to Fenerbahce or Olympiacos, Lille. We'll be playing home games as well. I just think our run is really difficult in April, especially. But I'm still of the same mentality as I was a few weeks ago of, can we just finish above United? But I still think that's a task. I really do, just because of the games that we've got coming up. And I'm with you. Like United, if United get top 5 this season, I'd feel embarrassed by it, which is crazy because, United spent so much, and they're, one of the biggest clubs in the world. They've had Champions League, for many seasons. We haven't. But we're better than them. I know we've lost them twice, but we deserve top 5 above Man United. Yeah. But we still have things to prove. We still need to go to somewhere like West Ham and win and beat Wolves. City and Arsenal will be so hard. Liverpool will be difficult. They'll be going for the league. There's a lot to go still in the season. And I said before, and, not a genius by saying it, but we just need to take it game by game still. I'm still checking the table every day, looking at the permutations about who plays when, when could this happen? And United obviously have a game in hand against Sheffield United from this weekend to come, so that you can basically add 3 points to their tally. But it would be also nice to see us move, what would it be, 11 points again ahead of them? Even though, as I say, you can basically add 3 points onto them. It just gives us a psychological advantage of, if we can win at West Ham, then what does that mean? Yeah.
But there's also the flip side psychological impact there, where we will be doing what we saw Newcastle do last year, when other clubs, Man United fans, Spurs fans, will be looking at the fixtures after they've played, or if Villa play first and they play the following day, or however the fixtures have come out, and they'll go, bloody hell, Villa won again. They keep doing it, they keep winning. That's the position we need to be in. If we chip away at 4 or 5 wins, it makes it an impossible task for Man United.
We certainly are good enough to win 5 of the 10, as you say, Dan. It's just, if we win 1 of the next 3, then all of a sudden we know we're going to have to go on a bit of a run. And yes, we're more than capable, absolutely. But it's just the pressure. I feel like we could have, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, we have an opportunity now, this is before the Tottenham game, to basically relieve pressure and win, as you say, like 1 and 2, and we can just about, just get over the line. It doesn't have to be flashy or whatever. But if we, struggle in the next couple of weeks, which, may happen, I don't know, hopefully not. Hopefully we can win 2 in a row and go to City, and, we don't have to win the game, and, the kind of pressure's off. Last game without McGinn. But if we don't win the, 2 games in a row, and Spurs do, Man United do, then all of a sudden you are looking and thinking, well, we're going to probably have to take this to the last 3 games of the season. We're going to have to win at Brighton. If we don't, then we're going to have to do something against Liverpool. And that's not the position I want to be in, because of the position that we had ourselves, that we find ourselves in now. Like, we have a big opportunity to give ourselves some wiggle room, I suppose, is what we're trying to say. If that's taken away, then what will it do for pressure? What will it do for the Conference League and stuff? So yeah, there's a lot to, a lot is going to ride on these next couple of weeks for me. West Ham, and, huge games.
We're going around in circles, so let's move on. Predicted 11 then, let's talk through that. Obviously, Ezri Konsa did not play against Ajax because of suspension. He will come back into the side. John McGinn will not be there as he starts his 3-match ban for a red card against Spurs. I still do not believe was a red card. McGinn actually had a similar challenge himself that he did on an Ajax player last night that wasn't even a foul, and I was like, kind of what he did against Spurs.
It was a red. I thought it probably was a red, to be fair, thinking.
I knew you'd say that.
No.
More chips.
No, I can understand both sides to it, but I think he's left himself open, basically. And I think
he's given the referee a decision to make, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he knew it at the time as well, but it was so stupid.
So L11 then, do you want to put it together for me? What would you be doing, or what's Emery going to be doing, or whatever this format is?
Obviously, Martinez in goal. I think Matty Cash, by the way, was excellent against Ajax.
Yeah, but, we said that last night.
I've got him at right back, Konsa and Torres at centre back, Luca Dean at left back. Obviously, Carlos picked up an injury. Luiz and Tim in midfield. As I said earlier, I don't think Tielemans will be brought back in, that deep, but I do expect him to play. Whether he'll be, as high as, supporting Watkins throughout the match, or will he kind of be dropping back almost into like a 3-man midfield? Probably the latter. So yeah, Tielemans, Luiz, and Tim on the right. Bailey on the left. Oh, so badly, haven't I?
Yeah, you've told yourself to not say. What you want to say is Tim and Luiz are middle two. Tielemans off the left, but can drop in to help essentially. Bailey and Watkins up front, Diaby on the right, or Diaby up front, Bailey on the right, either or, interchangeable.
Yeah.
We've already spoken about Watkins on the post-match show, that it was nothing serious when he first goes down and it's a knee pain and he looks in serious pain. Everyone, I'm sure, was thinking, oh no, here we go, our 4th ACL of the season. But it's just a cut from a stud of a boot from the goalkeeper. They wrapped it up with a bandage. He came off after scoring, so it can't have been too bad. We said on the post-match show, a couple of stitches and a bag of frozen peas, and I'm sure he'll be fine for Sunday, and that is what we're expecting to be the case. Watkins should be fit enough to start against West Ham.
Emery was pretty confident, and it was just a cut really on the knee. That's not something that I expected that would keep him out. But obviously, at the time, obviously, I think everyone probably thought it was worse than what it was. But we've all had those cuts. I don't know if you have done, I don't know. But when it opens up, it really is difficult to manage, and you could see him hobbling throughout the period that he stayed on the pitch. So, yeah, it was. I don't think it was something that Villa were thinking, oh, we have to bring him off. We'll just see how he is, because it's just a cut. It look, it's an open wound. Yeah, but it's not anything that's going to get worse, I don't think, by playing necessarily, unless he goes in front of the tackle. But it's not a muscle injury or ligaments, etc. So they were happy for him to carry on, but obviously he was moving around pretty gingerly. He probably thought as well, I've scored my goal, Villa are 1-0 up. They don't need me necessarily to win this game now, so I can save myself. I'm sure that if there was 10 minutes to go in the game or something, he would have probably stayed on. I think it was that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully he'll be fine for to play West Ham, and he'll be fully fit as well, not just like 60% Watkins. Because if he was only 60%, 50%, I'd play John Duran, because I think you need you need to be fully firing against West Ham. And I thought John Duran was very good again against Ajax, a player who I'm really warming to. Watkins
will be fit to start. I think he'll probably score. I think Villa win the game. That's my prediction.
I'll tell that for sure. I think it'll probably be a draw, if I'm honest. Okay. I wouldn't take a draw. Villa need to be winning games at this stage of the season, as I say, but I just think it's a finely poised match. And yeah, West Ham's home form is pretty good, considering everything, considering that the fans can play in at every kick of the ball, etc. during games. And without McGinn as well, it's going to make our life quite a whole lot harder, I think. Hopefully, if we can get the win, it'll be huge. As I say, it would give us so much confidence going into the international break. We can then regroup, play Wolves at home, home game under. Would it be under the lights? 5:30? Probably not. Under the lights in the second half.
Probably not by then. Yeah, the lights will be on, but it won't be very dark by then.
Yeah. So if we win our next 2 games, it puts us in a very, very, very good position.
Yeah.
To then attack the final 2 months of the season plus Conference League.
I'll go 2-1. I'm not going to blast them away or anything, but I do think we'll do enough to win. Last week, me and Matt both went for a Spurs win in the preview that we did, which is the first
Spurs
preview.
Win?
No, sorry, Villa win against Spurs. Sorry.
Okay.
We never predict Villa to lose, do we? So, both of us obviously got that massively wrong. So no points. He kind of used his platform there to be your prediction for the league table thing that I'm doing. So would you have gone for a Spurs win?
No, I would have said draw as well.
Okay, so still no points anyway.
Yeah.
So this week specifically, West Ham, I'm saying 2-1. What are you going for? 1-1?
2-2.
2-2, Desmond. Yeah. Lovely jubbly. Okay, so 1-2 for me and 2-2 for you. We will be doing a post-match show on Sunday afternoon. The kickoff is 2:00. I don't know who will be on that yet, but there will be a show. And we'll also do the Monday show on Monday, of course, a big Q&A episode as always. I think we might be doing that in the office all together for the first time, possibly. We'll talk about that in a second. If you've enjoyed this one, please let us know. Scroll down into the YouTube comments and share your thoughts. If you're listening on podcast platforms, leave us a rating and a review. They are greatly appreciated. Drop John, thanks for your time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you Sunday.